Hello everyone, my name is BarryMann. I'm a well-known practitioner in Adobe Space, home literature, etc. Um, I've recently found myself with a client that wishes to implement Adobe SDK under Google Tag Manager. In other words, not put in Adobe Launch as we're all used to, but in fact put in Google Tag Manager. And in all my years, I've never actually had to do such a thing. However, I was lucky to discover my colleague Jim Gordon's blog article on it, dated 20th September 2022. It's now 3 years later. I've been able to build this quite quickly. It wasn't difficult. There were a few gotchas. And so this is really just a video which I'm going to place in the comment section on Jim's article. He says in the article that he would make some videos, but doesn't seem to find any. So if you, like me, find yourself in the unfortunate position of having to build Google Tag SDK under Google Tag Manager and implement Initialize SDK there with privacy, and then this article is for you. All right. So I was able to whirl through this article quite quickly. All right, it's quite straightforward, if unusual. I knocked together a WordPress site with WooCommerce on it and flung onto that all the standard components. So Google Tag Manager, WooCommerce, some sample products, and I also imported a workspace that from the plugin maker that helped me out by putting every single event in there, and I'll show you that in a moment. All right. Dummy product in here, etc., etc. And then we've just got a pretty much standard Adobe data layer. Sorry, not Adobe data layer, let's just have it, a data layer. And there we go in there, and then we've got peace ITO, GSanguage, all your standard stuff, etc., etc. And as you move through the cards, you'll get cart entries, etc. I wonder if we get a search. Search works. Data layer. Yeah, so all standard stuff. No, it's not doing search. I think it's doing scroll though. All configured on the back end of WordPress and Woo. It probably took me about an hour to knock it together just as a dummy site. And I'll leave the link to that there if you want to play around with it. All right, jumping into what we built in Google Tag Manager, just following everything in Jim's article. The configure alloy section. Obviously, I had to update this to the latest version because about actually the one mentioned in Jim's article is 5 years old, so I just put in a new version, very simple. Note that Edge config ID has been deprecated and they're calling it data stream ID, so pop that in there. Although I did notice it was still giving me deprecation notices. Had a bit of bother with timing. This one's initialized at the top of the page. Do watch out for your timing, it's a bit tricky. I put in a helper function. This is just to log out some comments. All right, alloy, bit of logging, bit of filter on that, nothing very difficult, a quick hello from me. All right, and you got all of that. Enable debug mode, and then crucially the timing. And crucially a send event. You can pretty much knock this together in ChatGPT these days. No reason to fiddle around with semicolons and includes and all the rest of it. I'm just putting I built on what Jim did. I just put an event type in there, bit of detail. Haven't mapped through any of the variables through, which would probably be the next step, but it's all fairly straightforward stuff. All right. knocked it together. After a bit of fiddling around with timing, it just works. Watch out for your timing there to put that, we'll move that down to window loaded. Otherwise it got confused. Okay. Knock that together. Scan the site with the observe point. Bit of regex adjustment to just restrict it to my site. Let's see. Here's something you don't see very often. Pages on the home page of the shop. Love this tag initiator view. Gives you a little visual indication of how the tags go on. So this is my site. Cool tag manager pulling in Adobe Experience Loader. That's not something you see very often. And then bringing in Alloy. All right. All pretty much straightforward stuff. Okay, and then finally, we jump into some platform. Notice, obviously, it's in Google Tag Manager. You've got no helpers, no pickers, no guardrails. It's all code, which, if you had to do fuller implementation multi-event, could be a little bit tricky, very prone to fat fingers and brittleness. So here we have the data stream ending in BAF, okay, and then I jump on over here. We can see it's linked up to that data stream BAF like that. All right. Adobe Experience Platform. Everything's in the article configured in the normal way. Event data sets. No profile. Don't need it. Tracing that back to the data set. Here we go, a little bit of ingestion going on. Some nice red, some nice green, nice blue bars there. Successful ingestion. A query service. Templates. It's one way of seeing the data. There we go. Got some data in there. Got some link clicks going on as well. That will be because, so you're basically using GTM as a wrapper, okay? So link clicks must be enabled by default. That's interesting. Environment stuff going on, web object stuff, that's all mine, And then another way of doing it, if you want to use dataset preview, dataset preview, which is this one over here, it came out last year. Preview. So we've got some events coming in, some link clicks, page names. Now, I do, as Jim said in his article, I do caution against this approach for anything more than a POC, because for every single event you do here, you're going to have to go in here and you have to configure it. All right. I'm just doing send event, which I'm only doing for a page view. But if I wanted to augment that payload, let's say I wanted to add in server, and I'd put in 5 events, page view, link clicks, logins, etc. I would have to go through every single payload and manually go in here, okay, and alter this. And it should be considered a very brittle implementation. Privacy considerations as well. I'm going to bolt privacy onto this, which means I'm going to have to give some consideration to aligning Google Tag Manager's consent manager approach, version 1, version 2, and then aligning that somehow to Alloy's consent approach. In terms of planning, I would so privacy engineering is never simple, so I'm probably going to have to spend more time doing privacy engineering than the actual build out. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.